Wall Street loves AI. It loves the chips. It loves the cloud contracts. It loves the story that artificial intelligence will change everything. But here is the part that should make you stop scrolling. When a $15 billion AI data center loan is ready, the banks may not want to keep holding the debt. That is not a small detail. That is the signal. Because if AI infrastructure is such an obvious, safe, guaranteed winner, why does the financial system keep building structures that move the risk away from the most visible balance sheets and into bonds, leases, special vehicles, private credit, insurance portfolios, and maybe eventually the funds ordinary people own without thinking about it? This video is not about whether AI is real. AI is real. The question is whether the financing is getting ahead of the cash flow. And if the answer is yes, the first warning may not show up in a chatbot demo or a stock chart. It may show up in bond spreads, power grid queues, construction delays, and household bills. The Financial Times reported that banks led by Morgan Stanley are preparing to offload about $15 billion of debt tied to a Google-backed data center project in Hubbard, Texas, leased to Anthropic. This is not just another office building. It is a massive AI infrastructure project with land, chips, power facilities, construction milestones, and financing that may be refinanced through bond offerings. The important point is not that banks hate AI. They do not. Banks want the fees. They want the relationship. They want the next deal. But banks also understand construction risk, concentration risk, duration risk, and regulatory capital. So the question is not, do banks believe in AI? The question is, how long do they want this risk sitting on their own books? That is why this story matters. The AI boom has moved from software margins into physical infrastructure, servers, chips, land, cooling systems, natural gas, transmission lines, long leases, and debt. Apollo announced in June that Apollo managed funds and affiliates are leading an initial $35 billion capital solution as part of Broadcom's AI XPV platform, in partnership with Blackstone and leading global banks. The platform is designed to enable more than 20 gigawatts of compute capacity for frontier AI labs through 2028, and the first transaction supports Anthropic's compute expansion. That sentence sounds technical, but the idea is simple. AI companies need enormous compute. Compute requires chips. Chips need to be bought before the revenue fully arrives, so finance steps in and turns future demand into present-day capital. The product may be new, but the financial logic is old. Borrow now, build now, lease later, hope the cash flow arrives on schedule. And that is where the risk hides. Not because the companies are weak. Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and Oracle are not tiny startups. The risk is that the build-out is so large, so fast, and so dependent on future assumptions that the financing itself becomes part of the story. If the finance sounds complicated, think of it like a house, but at industrial scale. A developer needs money to build it. A tenant promises to rent it later. A powerful sponsor may provide guarantees. A bank funds the early stage. Then the bank tries to sell the long-term risk to investors. Everyone can still be acting rationally. The tenant may be strong, the sponsor may be strong, the project may work. But the house still has to be built, the power still has to be secured, the bonds still have to be sold, the refinancing market still has to stay open, and someone still has to hold the risk if the assumptions change. The dangerous word is not AI. The dangerous word is if. The Wall Street Journal reported that AI-related bond issuance had already reached about $270 billion by early July 2026, almost double the amount raised in all of 2025. It also reported expectations for roughly $250 billion of hyperscaler bond issuance in 2026 and about $400 billion in 2027. Dallas Fed researchers made the bigger point. Estimates for AI data center investment run between $3 trillion and $5 trillion over the next 3 to 5 years. They warn that AI financing can become a meaningful source of long-duration supply in fixed-income markets through corporate bonds, private credit, swaps, and possible crowding out of other borrowers. In plain English, the bond market is not an infinite ATM. When too much debt arrives at once, investors can demand higher yields. Higher yield means higher borrowing costs, and higher borrowing costs can turn a project from obvious into fragile. Meta's El Paso data center venture with BlackRock is a useful example because the numbers are visible. BlackRock managed funds will own 80% of the venture, while Meta keeps 20%. The total development cost is about $14 billion. A portion of BlackRock's investment will be funded with proceeds from a $12.5 billion debt financing. Meta will lease the entire campus and provide residual value guarantees with an aggregate threshold of about $13 billion that decreases over time. This is not a claim that the structure is illegal. It is not. The point is that risk can move through structures that ordinary viewers and even many ordinary investors do not see in a simple headline number. That is why off-balance sheet does not automatically mean fraud, but it can mean the real exposure is harder to understand. To be clear, these are powerful companies with real products and real cash flow. Alphabet said its Q2 2026 capital expenditures were $44.9 billion, mostly for technical infrastructure supporting AI. Microsoft reported $41 billion of capital expenditures in its fiscal fourth quarter. Amazon has also leaned on bond markets while planning massive AI-related capital spending. That is what makes this more subtle than a simple bubble story. A fake company with no business is easy to understand. A real company with huge cash flow, huge ambition, huge capital spending, and complicated future obligations is harder. It can be both real and risky at the same time. Now this leaves Wall Street and enters daily life. If AI data centers need more bonds, that can touch bond funds. If they need more private credit, that can touch insurance portfolios and pensions. If they need more electricity, that can touch utility bills. And if local grids need upgrades, the cost does not always stay inside the data center fence. The International Energy Agency projects global data center electricity consumption to roughly double to about 945 terawatt hours by 2030. It says data center electricity demand is growing about 15% per year from 2024 to 2030, more than 4 times faster than electricity demand from other sectors.
In Chicago's working-class Pilsen neighborhood, an oil-fired power
And here is the comparison that matters for normal people. The IEA says a typical AI-focused data center can use as much electricity as 100,000 households. The largest ones under construction can use 20 times as much. So when you hear AI infrastructure, do not only picture a clean white chatbot screen. Picture a power plant, picture transmission lines, picture cooling systems, picture a local community asking whether its grid, water, and bills are becoming part of someone else's AI race. Texas just made the issue impossible to ignore. Governor Greg Abbott directed the Public Utility Commission of Texas and ERCOT to conduct a comprehensive audit of data centers advancing through ERCOT's interconnection process before projects move forward. His office said ERCOT is considering more than 474 gigawatts of requests to connect to the Texas grid, more than 5 times Texas's record peak electricity demand for ERCOT, and roughly 90% of the new power requests are data centers. That is the moment this story becomes real. AI is no longer just a market narrative. It is now asking for land, water, electricity, transmission capacity, tax incentives, and political permission. AP also reported a $100 billion AI data center and gas power complex planned for the former Paducah gaseous diffusion plant in Kentucky, including a 1.8 gigawatt data center campus, 2 gigawatts of gas-fired power, and 2.6 gigawatts of battery storage. That is the hidden image behind the chatbot: a construction site, a power plant, a bond deal, a lease, a grid queue, and a community asking who pays. The real risk is not that AI disappears tomorrow. The real risk is timing. The cash is needed now, the infrastructure is built now, the bonds are sold now, the electricity must be secured now. But the revenue, utilization, productivity gains, and profit proof come later. If everything works, the story is fine. AI demand grows, data centers fill up, leases are paid, bonds perform, and infrastructure becomes profit. But if demand slows, if model economics disappoint, if rates stay high, if power costs rise, if construction delays accumulate, or if investors demand higher yields, then the same boom looks different. Not necessarily like a sudden crash, more like a squeeze. So here is what I would watch: whether banks keep arranging AI deals but refuse to hold the loans, whether data center bonds need higher yields, whether private credit becomes the quiet warehouse for AI infrastructure risk, whether power grid conflicts delay projects, and whether AI revenue grows fast enough to make these leases look ordinary instead of extreme. This is not a call to hate AI. It is a call to follow the money. The technology may change the world, but before the profits arrive, somebody has to finance the world AI needs. And right now, Wall Street is giving us a clue. It wants the AI deal, but it does not want to hold all the debt.